Hi, I'm here today with Kenzie Osborne. This is Anita from Reluctant Low Carb Life, and I'm really quite excited. I've known Kenzie, how long we've been working together? A couple months, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I actually found Kenzie through the Always Hungry program, which is with Dr. Ludwig. And why don't you tell us a little bit, Kenzie, about what you do and a little bit about yourself and your group that you have that I'm part of, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So my whole journey started out with the Always Hungry program. So as you said, with Dr. Ludwig. And the Always Hungry program is based on scientific research from Dr. Ludwig from Harvard University. And I really just loved the approach that they took. They really promote having whole, nourishing, fresh foods as the center of your diet, and really making sure that everything that you're having is delicious, is satisfying, and is filled with nutrient dense ingredients. I absolutely loved their approach, and I wanted to get more involved with it, but more from a practical standpoint. So taking the research and the science and putting it more into practical strategies so that people can adopt, that way of eating into their lifestyle in a way that feels doable, it feels positive, it's enjoyable. And so that's where I've recently just created this group, which of course you're a part of. And it's called the Always Nourished Program. And it's really just about taking small steps forward each day, setting goals that are achievable for yourself so that you can continue to make strides in your wellness, both from a food perspective and from a movement perspective, so that you can just feel great. And like I say, I try and do this in a really positive manner so that you can feel really good. You don't have to feel guilty about foods. You don't have to feel deprived. You can just feel great in your wellness journey. So yeah.
I love that because, part of Reluctant Low Carb Life, which I've said is, I believe in this three trifecta, which basically is about fullness, freshness, and fitness. Eating fresh foods, eating foods that help make you feel full, and also fitness, which is basically movement. So if people want to, let's say there's some listeners out there that might be interested and want to know, joining the group or how they can contact you, we'll put a link in the description about it, but maybe you could tell them a little bit more about how they could join you or become part of your group if they're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are interested in learning more, you can just go to kenzieosborne.com, and there is a drop-down menu where you can learn more about the Always Nourished community. Once you're there, you can actually sign up for a 7-day free trial, and I'll personally reach out, help you through that 7-day trial, make sure that you know where to find everything and welcome you in. And then after that 7-day trial, if you like it and you think it's going to be supportive of your goals, then absolutely you join right on in and we get things going. And of course, if you find that that community is not quite right for you, there is that 7-day trial that is no risk for you to give a shot. And within my website, of course, you'll be able to read all about my story. So a little bit more about that, as well as the purpose and inspiration behind the community.
Well, one of the things that I've really enjoyed, maybe I could tell a little bit about my experience.
Yeah. Of course,
That
yes.
one of the things that I've really kind of enjoyed about the community is a couple things. One is there's lots of great recipes. Uh, like I was telling people, I never thought before of doing a smoothie with cottage cheese in it and milk.
Yeah.
And I've been doing like one of your smoothies with cottage cheese and milk and strawberries and the almond butter, and that's actually been quite a satisfying smoothie for me. I've enjoyed a lot of the recipes, but also I've enjoyed where we meet together as a group once a week. And first of all, you tell us a little bit about training, and then we break up into group sessions and we talk about goals, or we
Yeah.
talk about food, or we talk about other issues. And actually, I probably really have enjoyed a lot of the group sessions and meeting other people and other group members. Is there
Yeah.
any reason why you do it that way instead of like a different
Yeah.
form?
Yeah. So I think there's, when I launched this community, what I really wanted was to create this positive environment where we can learn from each other, where we can learn different strategies, and where we can really celebrate food. So within the community, I have a growing recipe collection where everyone can submit, types of recipes that they want to see. And so right now we have over 85 different recipes on there, and they are growing each month. And you also have a daily recipe, and that's designed to really celebrate food and hopefully find something that you love, that's easy, and of course that's satiating and nourishing. And then with the weekly calls, again, a big purpose is to connect, to share strategies, and to learn from each other. I think that something that's missing in a lot of programs is that personal connection and having the opportunity to learn from others who are going through similar challenges as you are. What I always say, I of course have lots of one-on-one clients, and I always say, look, I'm going to have a bunch of strategies, but I'm not going to have all of the strategies. And I think that when we're in a community space, you can learn from each other. So every time I get onto that call, I learn something from one of my clients or one of the community members on the call, because they've found a new way of supporting themselves in accomplishing their goals. And so I think the community is so valuable to be able to actually implement strategies into your life in a way that makes sense for you. And I also think that just sharing goals with others can help to hold you more accountable to those goals. So just the act of getting into those breakout rooms, sharing your goals, really thinking out those goals, that can be really helpful to hold yourself accountable and make sure that you are reaching the goals that you want to accomplish. So that's why I built it in that way. And I always do that education piece at the beginning as well, to continuously be able to learn so that you can learn how to best support yourself.
Because I think, food itself, it's kind of a journey. And one of the things that I've noticed is, anyone that might be listening to me knows that I spend a large part of my time in Vietnam, we basically eat a lot of fresh. We don't have processed foods or ultra-processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
We, of course, we have them, but it's not something which, if I want to make salsa, I go out and I get the fresh vegetables and make the salsa. Anything processed can tend to be quite a bit more expensive, or we just not as much as it is here in the United States or Canada or Europe or other places. And one of the things I really love about your program, it's really about eating fresh and foods which make you feel full or satiated, right? Which it kind of seems that a lot of the research today has been going towards that more. Do you feel that or not, where they're saying that people need to eat more of the fresh foods and feel and eat foods that are more nutrient dense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest step that you can take towards improving your nutrition is moving from higher processed foods towards lower processed foods. I think, in general, if you are eating a diet that is mostly whole foods, fresh foods, and you have a good variety in there in terms of the types of foods that you're eating, I think that is most largely associated with nutrition and wellness benefits. We can get into all the different approaches that people have within the industry, and I really think that moving towards, as you say, those fresh foods that are non-processed, I think that is a great way to get started on your nutrition journey, and it's certainly something that I encourage clients to do, throughout their journey.
Okay, great, great. Can you tell us a little bit about those who may not know a little bit about the Always Hungry?
Yeah, absolutely. So Always Hungry is a book that was published in 2016, and it was created by Dr. David Ludwig and his wife, Chef Dawn Ludwig. The book takes a very different approach to dieting than we may have seen in a traditional diet culture. So instead of placing emphasis on calories, the Always Hungry program really places emphasis on satiating foods that are wholesome, that are natural, and that are lower in carbohydrates. So when we look at the Always Hungry program, what I love about it starts out with a 2-week, what they call phase 1 reset phase. And during this time, you are limited on carbohydrates that you consume, and you're eating a little bit more fats and high quality proteins and fruits and vegetables. And then over time, so after that 2-week period, you start to slowly incorporate some of those other carbohydrates back in. So you might want to try some brown rice or some quinoa or some sweet potatoes. And you just see how your body feels. And what I love about the program is it really is based on whole foods and how do you feel when you have them. So they look at 5 different metrics when they're measuring your progress. So they look at energy level, satiety. So that's more, do you want something more after you eat, or do you feel like that was a satiating meal? Your cravings, your hunger, and your overall sense of wellness. And so it really emphasizes how you're feeling. And again, making sure you're eating a lot of different whole foods and finding out which carbohydrates allow you to feel your best and which carbohydrates may actually be increasing your hunger, increasing your cravings, or maybe even reducing your energy levels. So I like it because it is very individualized, and it is, again, based on the science that Dr. Ludwig has conducted over the past number of years. I guess we're coming out on 7 years now since the book was published.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's I love the program, and I love being able to help people through that.
And one of the great things about it is like the keto diet, of course, which has been popular, is actually a very strict diet, and it can be a diet which can be hard for people to live on long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
So the keto diet, just as you say, it's very restrictive. So it's a very, very low carbohydrate diet. Um, and this program is a lot more freeing. So you have a lot more options, and it's really your body is guiding you towards what feels best for you.
Well, one of the great things about the Always Hungry program is it is still low carb, of course, in the sense that it has a lower carb emphasis. But it also has an emphasis on you can eat fruit, you can eat some sweet potatoes, you can eat some brown rice.
Yeah. So it's definitely a lower carb diet, in comparison to, I guess, a standard American diet. It is definitely a lower carbohydrate option. And you're right. So it's really looking at the quality of the carbs. So you are having whole intact grains. So, as you say, you're having quinoa, brown rice, sweet potato. And again, you're guiding yourself in deciding which ones allow you to feel your best. But we're still focusing on those whole, real, fresh carbohydrate sources rather than looking at the processed or refined carbohydrates. So again, it goes back to that quality. And it is absolutely still a low carbohydrate diet protocol. It's actually quite similar. So there are 3 phases. Phase 1 is the lowest carbohydrate. Then you move into phase 2, and then phase 3. And phase 3 is actually very similar to the Mediterranean diet, which is about 40% carbohydrate, 40% fat, and 20% protein. And so the Mediterranean diet specifically has been shown to be quite beneficial for a lot of different health conditions. And so you kind of get taken on this journey from a lower carbohydrate diet to that Mediterranean diet, which is still relatively low in carbohydrates. And you sort of find where you feel best between that phase 1 and that Mediterranean way of eating. And so you land somewhere between those and you find what allows you to feel your best.
And it's almost a bit like they were saying, like, eating the way maybe your great grandmother or your grandmother ate.
Yeah, a lot of those, luscious foods, right? So we went through I'm sure many of us went through that low fat diet craze. And I
Right.
mean, it's still around today as well, where we miss out on all those luscious foods, right? The butter, the lovely seared meats, the rich full fat Greek yogurts, and we're bringing those back, and you would be so surprised to see how full and energized you feel with those. Yeah.
And what's fascinating to me is like, because I think, I've been quite an advocate of, I've read this book called Multi-Processed People, which is
Mhm.
by Dr. Chris Van Tolken in UK, who did some research about processed foods. And even like Greek yogurt, you take, for example, right? You can go to the grocery store and one of them you buy could be processed and the other could be basically healthy.
Yeah, and I mean, within our society, it can be so hard to decipher what is actually in the foods that you're buying. A lot of times it takes really looking into the ingredient list to see what that food is. And it's really unfortunate because, as you said earlier, other countries, it's a lot easier to find these whole foods. In our country, it seems to be a lot more challenging to find fresh whole foods. And like I say, it's like a scavenger hunt through those ingredient lists,
Well,
trying
well,
to
not
figure
only,
out
if I
real.
could make a comment here,
Yeah.
it can be not only easier, it's cheaper. Like in Vietnam, it's much cheaper for me to eat fresh than to eat processed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of marketing. So the food industry, marketing strategies, if you put certain terms like healthy or natural or this term or that term, you can increase the price and of the product that you're selling. So oftentimes we see the healthier food options as quite a bit more expensive than something that is processed, which
Right.
again is quite unfortunate.
It is, I think in the Western world, in a lot of ways, it's cheaper to eat processed and more convenient than it is to eat fresh and whole.
I think absolutely more convenient. And I think it's still absolutely possible to eat a healthy diet on a budget. I just think it is a lot more challenging. You have to be able to find those foods. You need a little bit of culinary education to know how to best prepare those foods. And absolutely, it is less convenient, right? So they really
Mm.
make those ultra processed foods convenient, accessible, the easy, fast, and cheap option. And I think it's something that certainly needs to be changed for the overall wellness and health of North America.
And so one of the great things about your community is that you're basically, I just want to repeat, maybe you could tell me if this is correct. Basically a lot of your focus is about helping people to be able to change their life through being giving recipes and ideas and setting goals. It's not necessarily a diet. This is a way of life. How
Hmm.
do I cook fresh? How do I cook things that are going to be more healthy for me and still have them taste good?
Yeah, absolutely. And that you're spot on with that, right? So the community is about putting this into your life in a way that is practical, enjoyable, and doable for a long period of time. And I think that's missing in a lot of health and wellness programs. So I think a lot of times we'll see diets where maybe you get a meal plan, maybe you get a day by day guide of what to do. And I think what's really important for sustainable health is to have strategies where, okay, if you are busy, if you're working, 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., what can you do to help yourself eat healthier in those situations? What's really important is setting small goals, making a plan to reach that goal, having tools such as recipes, resources, and ideas so that you can implement those strategies into your life in a way that makes sense. And I think that's a really big part of the community and what I try and do and help people to achieve.
Well, I love it. Those that are listening, if you're looking for some way to be able to do, as we say, the trifecta of health, which is, freshness, fullness, and fitness, I hope that you'll look up Kenzie in the community, because it really is a great support and a way to be able to maybe change your life. I recently saw the series, The Blue Zone. I don't know if you saw that on Netflix.
Yeah.
And what really struck me on that is, all those people that were living, healthy lives into their hundreds and 90s. First of all, we're not eating processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody drank soda. And they all really ate fresh foods, just the way you're telling us that we need to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, fresh foods move a little bit more often, and don't make things so complicated. Try and find solutions that work for you. It may not be the same for everybody, and honestly, it won't be the same for everybody, but you're absolutely right. Eat more real whole foods, move your body a little more often, and do things that work for your lifestyle.
Well, Kenzie, thank you so much for taking the time, a few minutes today to be able to tell us more about what you do, and just to, help us all to be able to live healthier lives.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me on here. It was awesome to be able to share a little bit about myself. I hope this was interesting for all of you listening.
Well, thank you so much. We'd like to really thank Kenzie Osborne. We're going to put a link in the description for the podcast if you'd like to go on and to check out her community, or you'd like to be able to contact Kenzie directly yourself, ask any questions, or find out more about what she does. You can also find her on our website under one of the resources page. She's listed as one of our resources. If you are interested, go to Reluctant Low Carb Life, and you can go to our resources page and you can find the information for her there and be able to contact her directly there. I should point out that this is not anything to do with, I'm not an affiliate with her. I'm basically just someone who enjoys her community and want to share it with other people that are out there so they can actually help change their lives. Because this is all about us. I really believe about us working together to become better, to become healthier, and to improve our lives, even if it's just step by step and a little bit by little bit. Kenzie, do you have anything to add at the end or not?
No, I think that's fantastic. And again, thank you so much for doing this. I think it is so important to to share and help each other through our own journeys. And I love that you are doing that in all the work that you do. I'm so happy to have you as a part of the community. I'm looking forward to continuing both of our journeys together, and hopefully having some of your listeners join in on all the fun as well.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Anita.